The gender stuff, the insistence that men can have babies and such. And now I fear that we like the terrorists is the new that. Liberals need to push back on the dumb ideas that come from their children. The Democrats' problem is the energy of the parties with the young and the young are with the terrorists. That's not good. So talk to your children and remind them you don't really want to live like your hero.
Bill Maher just delivered a scathing takedown of young Democrats, and it's as entertaining as it is brutal, with the sharp-tongued liberal comedian dismissing the hype around the so-called fresh generation, arguing they're essentially a rerun of the old guard, repeating the same predictable mistakes. And in a fiery monologue, he tore into cherished progressive talking points, mercilessly exposing the youthful idealism that many still hold dear. This one definitely packs it.
Democrats. Less than 1 in 4 Democrats under 30 say they're proud to be an American. 54% say they're embarrassed by it. Embarrassed? Like America's your mom picking you up at school? You're embarrassed to be an American? Well, guess what? The feeling's mutual. Because you have no perspective. Is America perfect? No, of course not. No country is. Although don't get Tucker Carlson started on Russia. But
this is a deeply troubling statistic. If 1 in 4 young Democrats feels disenchanted and disconnected from America, the nation is facing a precarious future, because a country cannot endure if its own youth lose faith in it. While America is far from perfect, it remains a paradise compared to much of the world, yet the fact that so many young people view it negatively reveals more about conditioning than reality, reflecting years of left-wing indoctrination that casts the country as a villain instead of the beacon of freedom it truly is. And if this mindset continues to spread, the America we know could be slipping away right before our eyes.
Leagues ahead of the rest of the world on most of the progressive issues that are important to young people. America has 14 million women-owned businesses. 17% of black women are starting businesses, which is faster than white women or white men. Gay Americans are free to marry, and 49% of them own property. Yes, in America, gays buy buildings. In other places, they get thrown off them.
Across much of the Middle East and parts of Africa, life for the LGBTQ community is perilously harsh, with individuals unable to openly express their sexuality without facing severe punishment, imprisonment, or even death, forcing many to live in secrecy, hide their true selves, and sometimes enter marriages with the opposite sex to avoid suspicion while secretly seeing their real partners. And this oppression extends to women as well, who in many of these regions confront severe restrictions on their freedoms, with the prospect of owning or running a business remaining unthinkable, a harsh reality that few are willing to acknowledge.
You think are cringe? Well, they're cringe because America changed, because we modernized, way more than most societies have. Our current Congress is the most racially and ethnically diverse ever. They're like a beautiful, useless rainbow. And we proudly live in a land where every TV commercial features a mixed-race couple, including the ones where it makes no sense. Mom's black, dad's white, and the kid's Asian.
America has repeatedly bent over backward to accommodate, please, and elevate every group within its borders, from the LGBTQ+ community to racial minorities and beyond, with successive administrations, regardless of party, rolling out policies, programs, and initiatives aimed at addressing racial dynamics, uplifting marginalized voices, and showcasing a commitment to diversity. On paper, it all sounds noble, celebrating differences, embracing multiculturalism, and ensuring everyone feels recognized, but at some point, one has to ask, when bending over backward starts to feel like breaking the nation's backbone, because diversity should build strength, not division, yet too often it's become a political tool to score points rather than truly unify, as leaders parade inclusivity while the country feels more fractured than ever, suggesting it may be time to reconsider whether these efforts are genuinely bringing us together or quietly.
For Democrats, their young people, their key constituency, not only don't like their own civilization, they like the wrong one. They actually think Hamas is a liberation movement. They chant for the Houthis. They're chanting, "We will honor our martyrs" at Yale. They're looking for love in all the wrong countries. Someone needs to tell the kids that America is not the society where women basically have no rights. where there's zero freedom of religion and where dissent is punishable by death. Our democracy may be on life support, but we still have elections.
Americans often take for granted like the right to speak freely, to worship or not without fear, to protest the government, to vote, to love whom they choose, and to pursue opportunity on their own terms, are rights that millions around the world would risk their lives to attain. Yet the younger generation seems largely blind to this reality, often failing to appreciate the liberties they've inherited, quick to blame America for its flaws, and at times romanticizing countries that suppress basic human rights as if they hold some moral high ground, a mindset that is both naive and dangerous, because if we don't teach the next generation to value what we have, we risk losing the very freedoms that make America.
Here, when an Irish rap group projected onto screens, "Fuck Israel, Free Palestine," got big applause. "Globalize the Intifada" is the catchphrase that's really catching on these days, as if worldwide suicide bombing and cosplaying Islamic revolutionaries is the answer to our problem.
1111. It's genuinely disheartening to see the causes young Democrats eagerly rally behind, often showing more passion for foreign ideologies or lauding nations that actively suppress freedom than for defending the liberties we already enjoy at home. And even if we grant their claims that some of these countries are supposedly doing better than America, the question remains, how does that help us? Do they truly want to emulate systems that crush dissent, silence free thought, and erode democracy, abandoning free speech and the very principles that made America a beacon of hope to mirror nations where citizens live in fear of their own government? If that's the vision, then what they're pursuing isn't progress, it's regression dressed up as
rally in Idaho last month, someone threw a Palestinian flag over an American flag, and the crowd erupted in approval. What should have happened after that is one of the adults on stage should have told their young, loyal followers, this is not a symbol of freedom. This is.
1. Everything young Democrats believe today, their worldview, their rhetoric, their marching orders, has been carefully shaped by older left-wing leaders like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Ilhan Omar, Gavin Newsom, and Zoran Mondani, who have drilled into them the narrative that America is broken, corrupt, and undeserving of pride, steering them away from gratitude for living in one of the freest and most prosperous nations in history and instead encouraging admiration for foreign systems that often offer far fewer rights and freedoms. This relentless drumbeat of glorifying others while vilifying America has produced a generation that views patriotism as outdated and mocks the very foundations that provide them their platform. A mindset that not only weakens political discourse but also erodes national unity and undermines the pride that
Leaders in the Democratic Party keep encouraging and not rebuking the idea that America is cringe and the people who run Gaza are great. The Democrats are doomed. Alyssa Slotkin's right. Liberals are weak and woke, especially the white ones, and they indulge all sorts of nonsense from their kids, a pattern that then continues on.
111. I've always said it, and I'll keep saying it. The Democrats are weak and hopelessly woke, standing for nothing solid, folding under pressure, bowing to every radical demand, and pandering to whichever group screams the loudest. This isn't strength, it's cowardice disguised as progress. As the party has become so obsessed with pleasing the far left that it's lost touch with everyday Americans who crave common sense and stability. And if Democrats could summon the courage to stand up to their own extremists, they might restore credibility, bring order back to their fractured ranks, and maybe even reclaim the White House. But as long as weakness and wokeness dominate, the party is only setting it.
The insistence that men can have babies and such, and now I fear that we like the terrorists is the new that. Liberals need to push back on the dumb ideas that come from their children. The Democrats' problem is the energy of the party is with the young, and the young are with the terrorists. That's not good. So talk to your children and remind them you don't really want to live like you're here.
1. Democrats need to confront a hard truth. If they hope to regain the power and influence they once held, they must abandon the woke mob entirely, because catering to every radical whim and pandering to their loudest, most online supporters, including their own children, has steered them toward political self-destruction. An obsession with identity politics, cancel culture, and virtue signaling may earn social media applause, but it alienates everyday Americans who care about real issues like jobs, security, and stability, rather than letting indoctrinated youth dictate the agenda. And if Democrats don't face reality and reconnect with the center, the party risks becoming a hollow echo chamber instead.
Grubhub, your freedom to bitch about America. That's all American stuff. You tell your phone you want a milkshake and a guy brings it to your house. Please, you couldn't survive a week living in Intifadaville. You're like the girl in White Lotus who was going to live in a Buddhist monastery and then lasted
1111. All these young people who proudly wave the banner for terrorists and oppressive regimes wouldn't last a single day living under those same systems. Yet they scream about justice and resistance from the safety of America, shielded by freedoms they barely appreciate. The irony is striking, as they live in fantasies imagining themselves brave revolutionaries. But when confronted with the harsh realities of those regimes, the lack of free speech, brutality, oppression, and disregard for human life, they would crumble, desperate to return to the very liberties they so casually scorn, proving that it's easy to play the radical when protected by America's freedoms, yet a completely different story when those freedoms don't exist. And the bigger challenge isn't foreign enemies but the mindset brewing at home, as too many young Democrats, blinded by indoctrination, idolize nations that crush freedoms while scorning the liberties they enjoy here, championing woke causes and dangerous illusions while forgetting that, despite its flaws, America remains unmatched in freedom and opportunity. If this disillusionment continues, the nation risks unraveling from within. So the solution is clear: wake up, face reality, and protect what makes America great before it's too late, or risk losing the very